Okay, good evening. Welcome back to our class here on the Mamar, the discourse that the Rebbe delivered on the 10th of Shvat in 1954. And as I mentioned at the beginning of last week, that this discourse explains the fourth chapter of the previous Rebbe's 20-chapter discourse. So in 1951, the Rebbe started with the first chapter, 52 the second, and then on. So 54 is the fourth chapter. In this Mamar, the Rebbe, we learned last week till the middle of the third chapter of this particular Mamar, and we learned that the question the Rebbe asked was as follows. How is it that is it good? Looks crooked to me.
Something a little bit. There you go.
How is it, the Rebbe asked, how is it that the forces, he explained like this, that the forces of Klippa, of the unholiness, have to be here because God wanted that we should serve Him. And the serving Him is through creating a balance between the good and the not good. And when a Jew subdues the not good, which is ultimately what Hashem enjoys most, is our breaking and subduing the evil. In order to break and subdue evil, you have to have evil. So God created this whole concealment on godliness and the power of the Sitra Achra, the power of the unholy and the animal soul within us, and the spirit of folly, and so on and so forth. But then the Rebbe went on to ask, fine, so now we understand why we need it. The question is, what are the mechanics of the concealment? How is it that something that is real, substantial, which is godliness, could be concealed by something that's unreal and unsubstantial? If the whole reason the unholy exists is in order, it doesn't have existence of its own. It's only there to serve a purpose, which is to have us be able to subdue it. That means that in and of itself, it's not a substantial, real, essential existence. So how is it that something, what I would call now fake, could conceal something that is real? How does this? I know why we need that to happen, but how does it happen? So the Rebbe, and this we learned last week, and the Rebbe went on to explain that this is because, in truth, he asked a question, and to answer this question, he asks another question on something entirely different. The question that he asked was, why is it that mankind, which is the highest created being, is dependent, its very existence is dependent on this consumption of lower realities, of meat, and of bread, and of vegetation, etc., etc. It should be the other way around. The animals, the trees, the inanimate should be dependent on man. But it's not. They're dependent on their ultimate purpose, maybe on man. Because man elevates them, transforms them into something holy. Without man, it can never reach that. But their very existence is not dependent on man. Whereas mankind not only doesn't need the animal and all the rest for its spiritual fulfillment, because through them it transforms, it elevates, makes the world closer to God. So it too, its neshama benefits from that as well. But here it's more. The very existence of the human being and its neshama's connection to his body is dependent on bread, on water, on meat, on other things. How could that be? And he answered that what really the man needs is not so much the physical bread, but the spark of godliness that's in the bread. Because everything has a spark. So it's dependent on the spark. But the Rebbe asked, but the man also, human beings also have a spark of godliness in them. So why can't they live off their own spark? Why do they need the spark of the lower elements of creation? And now he's going to answer that, and this is where we stopped. We're on page, in this book it's page 7, the second paragraph of chapter 3 in the Mamar Basi Legani. This will be understood by his first explaining that which is known. That in the creation of the worlds, and I say worlds plural, there are physical world, there's the physical universe, and then there is spiritual world that God created that we're here, that are higher, obviously on a higher level than this our own physical world. And what we call in the vernacular of Kabbalah the Seder Hishtalshelus, which means the chain-like order of evolution, of spiritual evolution of the worlds. One level leading to another, cause and effect, until it becomes so diluted and so lowered that it can even become a physical world. In that process of creating worlds and creating this whole evolution of the spiritual worlds, there are two basic realms known as Olam HaTohu and Olam HaTikun. Olam HaTohu means the world of chaos, and Olam HaTikun is the world of order. And we'll explain soon what happened, why these two realms came about. So the Rebbe explains, B'hinei Seidra Ishtalshlus U'Be'efen De'Beinam Nas Lister V'Seisram Nas Livnes. Shu'inyim B'inin Olam HaTohu Shom Nas Lister V'Astira Olam HaTohu Shi B'Shvil Abin Olam HaTikun. To say that Ishtalshul is that orderly, chain-like evolution of the worlds. You know why I say chain-like? Because like a chain, the one links into the other and it flows from one to the other. And that creates a whole chain. Here too, one world leads into the other, and one level to the next, and so on. So this was created in such a way as follows. That Olam HaTohu was created first, a world of chaos, but that was not a good world. So God created it in order to dismantle it, and it was dismantled in order to create an orderly world.
Why?
What was the problem with this chaotic world?
Oh.
It's as follows. I'll explain it first outside. The way worlds are created is that God shines a great light of energy, and that energy has to be contained in spiritual vessels that bring order to them, that contain them, compartmentalize them, and so on and so forth. As we will learn, as happened eventually in the world of Atzilus, there's the lights of Atzilus, and then there's the vessels of Atzilus. What are the vessels? The 10 attributes, the 10 sfirot.
Mm-hmm.
They give color, they give form, they give character to the lights. It turns in, there's the vessel of kindness, the vessel of severity, judgment, the vessel of wisdom, the vessel of understanding, and so on and so forth. What happened in the world of Taya, now this is a very deep idea that this is not the subject of this mimer, but I wanted, because he talks about these two worlds, I wanted to briefly clue you into what he's talking about. The world of Taya was a world where the lights were incredibly infinite, very strong, and there were vessels. The problem was that the vessels could not contain the light, and they shattered, they broke. This is all in the spiritual, obviously.
So didn't God know this beforehand?
That's before time was created.
Well, whatever.
So this happens all in an instant.
I mean, it's not like God does trial and error. Right?
No, but there was a purpose for that. There was a purpose for that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. What was
There was
the
a purpose for that.
What was the purpose?
The purpose was this physical world. This physical world came about through those sparks and lights that what happens when the vessels shatter. I'll give you an example. Yeah, you take a hot tea kettle, and it's hot with boiling water, and you want to drink a tea. So you lift up the spigot, whatever it is, and the water starts coming out. If you put in a cup of thin glass, what may happen?
Right.
The thin glass may not be able to withstand such heat, and it breaks. Right. What happens to the water that when the glass breaks? It falls, it spills all over the place. That's what happens spiritually in the world of Toyu, in the world of chaos. The lights were they're very powerful. They're very holy, spiritual, infinite. But the vessels couldn't contain so much light. So the vessels shattered, and the lights, the sparks fell, splattered all over, spilled all over. What's all over? They fell all the way down to the physical world, into the lowest elements of the physical world.
All of the lights?
The sparks from the world of Toyu, 288 major sparks, which are subdivided into millions and billions, perhaps.
Okay.
And they ended up all over, in animals, in trees, in all the elements of creation. What happened after that? When God saw that this is not a system, too much light with too little vessels is not going to work. So he then went ahead and created a world of order. What's the world of order? Where there's less light, more vessel, so that the vessel can contain the light. And then you have a world of order. Then you have what you need. You have kindness is kindness, severity is severity, and so on and so forth. And there's a merging, they intertwine. There's not too much of one that overpowers the other. You have an intertwining. You have just the proper measure of kindness. You have the proper measure of judgment. You have the proper measure of compassion. When you have too much of one thing, it's all over the place. It's not good. So the
Except
breaking.
For too much wisdom. Except for too much wisdom.
Too much wisdom is not either good. If you have to teach a class and you can't contain your wisdom, it's also not good. You have to have, everything has to have its place. Move on. And from this it's understood Shabinyan Shasasru. Yeshlik Dime Labinyan Shabonu Bimkaime. Lake Dime Bisman al Beifin shall see Bumasuvim. Sharia shall is Binyam Makamastira Alam Kain Kadam Abinyan shall if Neda Vachachais Stiros. What this means is, so God created the world of chaos first, dismantled it, and in its place built the world of order, which is the world that the Seder Shtaus, the evolution of the world till our own world. This, so obviously understood from this that the building, the world that was built first and then dismantled came before the world that was later built in its place. Not before in time, because we're beyond. This is a realm that's beyond time and space. But it means in level, in spiritual quality, and so on and so forth. B'yasedim is even more so. It's not only that the world of chaos was the cause of the world of order, which is the effect, but more, it's also greater in quality as well. It's on a higher level. The world of Torah that came before Tikkun, the world of chaos that was created before, which was then dismantled, which gave rise to the world of Tikkun, is on a higher level. The lights of those worlds, the energy, the godly energy of that world is higher than the world of Tikkun. Am I over your head? You follow what's happening? Okay. Because in the world of chaos, the lights were great, were plenty. Whereas in the world of Tikkun, the lights are more contained, are less. So the world of Torah is on a higher level. And when we say that in the world of chaos there were more lights, it doesn't mean more in quantity. It means more in quality. Because we're not talking about physical over here. We're talking about spirituality. So it's greater in quality. So the world of Torah, in the end of the day, is the lights of the energy of the world of Torah is greater in quality than the world of Tikkun, than the world of order, which came later. And when we say that which this also means, therefore, the things of this world, whose source is in the world of chaos, are on a higher level than the things of this world that it has its source in the world of Tikkun, in the world of order. What did we say before? That the lights that were shattered, the sparks that were shattered in the world of chaos, when the vessels broke, ended up in the lowest realms, right? And they became the sword. That gave way to the creation of all the lowly physical creations.
Still,
that lack an obvious godliness, which is the whole physical world except for mankind, which mankind possesses a godly quality, an observable godly quality, a neshama and so on. But everything else comes from the world that is sourced in the world of Tikkun, of Tayu, of the world of chaos, which would mean, ironically, that everything of this physical world besides man is sourced in a higher realm than mankind, because the vegetation, the animal kingdom, the inanimate, we said, they are the result of the sparks from the world of chaos, which are on a higher level than the world of order, which is our source.
but isn't our neshama part of that splatter, so to speak?
No, the neshama is not. You'll see soon that the neshama is not, right? The neshama is from the world of Tikkun.
Oh.
The Rebbe will soon divide the neshama in two parts.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Just be patient.
All right, now.
Yeah?
The neshamas from the world of Tikkun.
Yeah.
Even though Hashem created and breathed life directly.
The world of Tikkun is godliness. Absolutely. You see where the Rebbe is going with all of this?
I'm trying.
וזהו, הטעם שאדם צורך לאדם צמא חי. לא רק לגשמי שבהם, אלא גם לרוחני שבהם. דהיינו לניצוץ אלוקי שבהם, כאילו ששורש באילמתי שקודם לאילמתי. What was our question before? Why does mankind depend on his very existence? For lowlier creations, it should be the other way around. The lowlier creation should be dependent for their existence on mankind, which is higher than them. Right? Yet we find it's just the opposite. Man needs bread doesn't need man.
Mm-hmm.
Man needs an animal doesn't need a man.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? The answer is because the animal and the bread and everything in this physical world, the lowly creations, they have in them a spiritual energy that is even higher than the spiritual energy that man has on its own. Because man comes from the lower world of order, whereas they come from the higher world of chaos. So we need not only the physical bread for our life, it's not only the physical bread, it's like the verse that the Rebbe quoted earlier in the Mamar. It's the spark that's in the bread that we really want, which we're hungry for. Because the neshama senses in that bread something very, very great that it on its own does not have. And that is an energy from the world of higher order, the higher world of chaos. Only it was broke, it was all over, so it ended up in the lower creation. But that's why we're dependent on that. Because without it, we would lack that incredible spiritual energy.
So these lights that escaped from the broken vessels sounds like...
Escaped. They fell, yeah.
Right, they fell. It sounds like, or from what I've always heard, it shattered, so there's bits and pieces here and there. What you're saying is that every created thing, except for the human being, comes from the world of chaos,
The
which
lower
doesn't
creations,
make...
the lower,
which means grass,
inanimate,
animals...
vegetation, and animal kingdom, yes.
But that doesn't make sense, because those in themselves are very orderly. Grass
Why are they
is grass.
very orderly?
In the sense that
Yeah,
there's an order to grass.
there's an order to grass, because if it was ultimately created through the process of the Seder Shtalshalus, but in them, there is... Why are they so lowly? Why are they so lowly?
So then the
What do I
grass,
mean by lowly, first of all?
spiritually.
They don't have... There's no obvious godliness in them. There's a
But there
total
is,
concealment.
from what you're saying
A total
now.
concealment.
So even
Those
though
sparks fell. When they fell far. They fell low.
they fell low into
Into
but
the whole-
grass was created through the
Good, but
orderly.
within them there is also
So within
there's
them,
those,
so it's
those
got
sparks.
both.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's
All of
both.
it.
It has.
Not
I don't
just-
know if it
so
has
they're really
both.
higher.
Right now, he's talking about the fact that they possess within them the sparks of the higher world.
Then they're really higher than us.
They are.
If the world of chaos is higher than us,
Yeah,
then
that's
they
why we
higher
are
than us.
dependent on them.
Right.
And they help us reach a higher level.
Yeah, that's why we need them.
That's why we keep kosher.
That's why we keep kosher.
They-
That's why we eat. That's why
That's why it nourishes us to go
Exactly.
higher. Right.
That's the whole purpose. When you're hungry for bread, it's not because your stomach is hungry. It's because your neshama is hungry for that spiritual energy that's in the bread, which it on its own doesn't have. So it needs the bread to access that high-level spiritual energy.
Does a pig have it? Does a pig have that
They
spark?
all have it, yeah. Yeah.
And a lobster?
Yeah, everything. On the contrary, they probably even have a higher level of within Tayu. Because the higher something is, when it falls even lower. That's the rule, right?
Right.
If something falls in the Empire
Yeah.
State Building, it falls strong, right? If it falls from the state to the floor, nothing.
Depending upon the mass.
Actually, it's all the same.
Well, not a
speed.
feather. I'm not talking about a feather, but I'm talking about something that has some weight to it.
Equal mass, yeah.
Yeah. If it's stronger than gravity, no, not stronger than gravity. If it's pulled down by gravity, if something is pulled down by gravity, it's going to be pulled down a lot
If everything
stronger
is
and
equal,
further.
but the thing falls from
Yeah.
higher up, it's going to
Exactly.
fall
That's
Heavier.
lower
right.
down.
Yeah.
Throw a penny
Versus
from
top of
10
your
feet
It's going to be
versus...
a harder
right.
fall for the
Not only harder, but
1,000
yes, but the force with greater force. The same thing with Tayu. Within Tayu alone, if it's higher within Tayu, it falls lower. If it's lower within that chaotic world, it falls not so low. So you have bread and then you have pig.
But that's only the
So
law
that
of
would tell
physics.
you that the pig, but because the laws of physics, they come from from the laws of the spirit.
Yeah.
It's all a manifestation of a higher realm. So that's what it is. This also explains within the human itself a very important truth. What we asked before, how could it be that the spirit of follow of your Yetzer Hara, of your animalistic drive, could conceal the godly soul? It doesn't make any sense. The negative within you is only an insubstantial, a fake reality, whereas your godly soul is real. How could something not real, something that is only here because of something else, it doesn't have its own real existence, as we explained before, conceal on something that's substantial, real, godly?
That's a good question.
Now the answer is obvious. How could your nefesh abamis, your animalistic soul, cover and conceal your your godly soul? Very simple. Because the animalistic soul within you is also sourced in the world of Tayu, in the world of chaos, just like animals are sourced in the world of Tayu, and because fell, it falls low. Our animalistic soul within us is also of a low nature. It's self-centered, not godly. So it's low. That's because it fell. Where did it fall from? Somewhere very high. The world of chaos. So the animal soul here was saying its source is from a higher reality than the godly soul. The animal soul source is the world of chaos. The godly soul source is the world of order. And therefore, that which comes from a higher realm can conceal the lower realm. You getting it?
Mm-hmm. So the only thing from the world of order is, what you're saying, is our neshama.
Yeah. And all the spiritual worlds.
And all the spiritual worlds are from the world of order.
Sure. זהו גם שיצהר הקדמת תניסה ששור שבאילמה כשקדם לאילם שושר שיצר טייב. And over here, that's also with the Yetzirah, the evil inclination, and the good inclination, the evil inclination came first.
All the fragments are manifested here?
Yeah. What do you mean all the fragments are manifested?
As opposed to other worlds?
Everything that's shattered.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it in physical terms. The light.
They talked about, the Kabbalah talks about 288 sparks.
280 sparks are all contained within this world.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. By the way, it says that when the Jews left Egypt, by the time they left Egypt, they had already elevated 202 of those sparks.
Wow.
So we're left with 86 sparks.
Oh my God.
You understand?
No, 280 sparks.
288. I'm sorry, did I say 280? It's 288. I'm sorry. It's 288. We already took care of 202. So we're left with 86. What do you mean by took care of? We elevated. Our job down here is to extract those sparks and bring it back to its source.
Yeah.
We've done 202 already.
So 86.
So giving the Torah, all these laws, and everything is still
86 sparks, which is subdivided.
That's not 86 sparks.
And thousands of years.
Yes. Yeah.
Have we made any progress in the last 3,300 years?
We're at the threshold of redemption. We're at the threshold.
Yes.
The emes is, the previous Rebbe already said long ago that we finished all the sparks.
Oh.
We just have to polish the buttons.
Really?
We just have to polish the buttons. Yeah.
And then that's
the
so like
language
200 years and thing.
To polish the buttons. Previous Rebbe, it's not 200. That's for 60. To polish the buttons. It's the suits on already. Everything is great. Just have to dust it off a little bit. Then. זה יוכל להביא כך רוח שבאמס למיתן אל השטוס שתחס על אמס כפי שאמס היא בסדר השתלשל וכפי שנשאל בנפש האדם ויש השורש מתי שקודם לתיקון. This is why there's a possibility that the spirit of folly, which is truly only folly, it's silliness, should be able to cover the truth. As this truth is being lowered into the realm of the Seder Ishtalshus, the chain-like order of evolution. And as it is drawn into the soul of man, because at that level, the soul of man is lower than the animalistic soul, who's sourced in the world of Tayu, and that's why it has the power to cover it. And that's the answer to that question that we asked before. How could this cover this? This is insubstantial, this is substantial, this is real, this is God. The answer is, as it's in the world of Tayu and the world of Tikkun, the world of order, the animalistic side of us has a greater power. But that's not done yet. Because now comes a real
struggle?
No. But the Rebbe is going to say now is then why is it that at the end of the day there's certain parts of our soul that the animalistic soul can never cover? If you remember in Tanya in chapter 18, Alter Rebbe said that there's a certain part of the neshama that can never be tampered with. And that's where a Yid can even give up his life for Hashem. Let's learn it inside. How does that work? Why is that? If the animal soul is greater than
comes from
the Rebbe.
I know, but I'm saying I know that, but the Rebbe got it from
His
where?
Father.
No, the discourse is the Rebbe's discourse. He's elaborating on that 4th chapter of his father-in-law.
Of his father.
Father-in-law's discourse, yeah. The previous one.
Which he got from what? Tanya or
He didn't get
or
this.
Talmud or
He got it from himself.
okay.
The Rebbes are their own source.
Okay, gotcha.
They're men of God. They
I'm
have
just
divine
wondering,
spirit.
where the source.
They're divinely inspired.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
Obviously, he's bringing all kinds of sources within Hasidus and Kabbalah.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
Now we have to understand from the other side. According to what we just said, that the world of Teiyu, of chaos, is on a higher level than the world of order, then it should turn out that the spirit of folly, which comes from the animalistic negative side, therefore it has the power to cover and conceal the truth of the godly soul. Then it should be that the power of the spirit of folly, the negative, the unholy soul, should be able to cover entirely over the godly soul. Yeah? A good question.
Yeah.
In other words, there shouldn't be left over any vestige, any part of the soul, of the godly soul, that the negative shouldn't be able to cover it. If the negative comes from a higher source, it should have a power altogether. But we see Reya shenasini for the melkus as a mokum little shtusel nasu lahalam alam eschul. Alayim do b'nesoyin v'akitikash ke'chamun apel amid b'nesoyin leirag b'namunatzu gam b'negel machshav diber ma'isa shem b'nesoyin limusen nafsha afil shalei lasa says a ma'isa levad neged amunas Hashem echad afshein amayim b'klal b'libe. V'chein ledaber te'echad shal malachtas Hashem afshein people libe shavim chulu kumvur b'tanya v'gdelim ezumatzinish afil eitzel amin v'ame'oras eilish daitim kali yeshim kam v'kam. We'll stop there. That was a long time.
Very long. Probably 4 words.
What do we see in reality? The question was, the negative comes from a higher source, it should be able to cover entirely over the godly soul. But we see the opposite. We see that when a person, even a person who's sinful all his life, and he's done terrible sins, that person who's not idealistic about Judaism, he sins. He's a sinner. When he is confronted with the ultimate test of faith, for example, if you take a secular person who knows about his neshama, he knows, he's just a secular person, and you tell him, you bow down to an idol or I kill you. That they can't do. Why can't they do it? Because what happened over here, what's the reason he's able to sin? Because the spirit of folly tells him, you're still okay if you sin, right? You're still a Jew, you're okay. But when you tell a person you convert to Christianity or to serve on any other idol, or we kill you, the chances are they'll let themselves die. Why? Because over here, the spirit of folly can't cover the truth anymore. What's he going to tell him? You're still a Jew, you're still a good Jew? At this point, it becomes absolutely unequivocally clear that if I do this, I'm done. I cut my connection. That a Jew can't do. That a Jew is unable to do.
And every Jew is aware of that connection.
Not some not. But if they are aware, I'm talking about if they're aware. They're not aware, they're not aware.
Why
I'm talking
are
about
some not aware and some
they weren't
aware?
educated, sadly. But if you're aware, and you're sinful nonetheless, but this sin they can't do. Why? Because over here, the spirit of folly can't fool you anymore. Up to this point, it can fool you. It can cover the truth. What's the truth? That every sin separates you from God. But it tells you, no, you're okay, you can eat pork and you're still a Jew. But to convert to Christianity, to serve an idol, to separate yourself from God. And by the way, this test people passed even when they were forced. In other words, let's take the following scenario. A person comes to threatens your life if you don't bow to an idol. So you can logically say to yourself, well, I don't believe in this idol anyway. So may as well just bow as an external expression. It doesn't have any internal meaning anyway. Why should I lose my life? Let me bow. I don't really believe it. Even that they wouldn't do. Or to even speak against God and admit that the idol is correct. No one would even say that. Or even think it. There comes to a point with, in other words, what does that show? That there's a point in your neshama that no spirit of folly can tamper with. When it comes, you hit me at that raw nerve, you can't. There's no spirit of folly.
How do you explain people that convert to Christianity or
they're totally
Messianic
uninitiated.
Jews?
They have no idea. They totally have no idea what's going on.
They're totally concealed.
They don't know about this connection. They're not aware of it. No one ever told them.
But don't you feel the connection?
It's like saying a person that was separated from his mother and father at birth. Imagine, a kid was kidnapped. He was kidnapped from his father and mother at birth. He doesn't know who they are.
Yeah.
And then 30 years later, he's sitting on a park bench right near his father.
Right.
He's just unaware it's his father.
Right.
And you wonder, why is he not hugging him? Why is he not embracing him? Oh, of course he's not going to embrace him. If you don't tell him that this is your father, how is he supposed to embrace him? But watch what happens if you do tell him that it's his father. So, there's people that converted. They never knew about that. They don't know their father. They never heard of him. They were snatched at birth, and they don't know. But someone that wasn't snatched at birth, someone that does know their father, but rebelled against their father. You have kids that rebel against their father. But then when they hear their father had a heart attack, they run. They run to their father. Well, how's my father? What's doing? You can get in the way up to a certain point. By a yid also, you can get in the way. The spirit of folly can cover up to a certain point, but not at the core essence. What's the core essence? That's the point that was revealed when you put to the test. And that, no spirit of folly can cover. And therefore you'll give up your life. You won't sin. And so from this we see, he even goes further. We find even furthermore. We see even by some people, simpletons, that don't know much. They're not really sophisticated, they're not educated well. But there's certain sins, even if it's not idol worship, there's certain sins that they're afraid to violate. Under no circumstance would they violate those sins. And it's not because they understand the depth of those sins. They're not really deep people. They're more coarse. They're not capable of that. Yet they have some kind of innate, natural fear of God for those sins that nothing you can do will get them to violate those sins, especially certain sins that bring with them the penalty of death penalty or excision. The point that Rebbe is making over here is we see clear that this spirit of folly, even though it comes from a higher source, does not have the power in it to conceal the soul entirely. It can conceal it up to a certain point. Why not entirely if it comes from a higher source? You see, before the Rebbe asked, how does it have the power to conceal it at all? And he answered, because it comes from a higher source. So it has a power over a lower source. So then the question is the other. So then why doesn't it have the power to conceal it completely? And we see it doesn't. So here the Rebbe is going to split this godly soul into two. He said there's certain parts of the soul that are from Eilam Atikum, from the world of order. And that part of the soul could be concealed by the animal soul, because it comes from a higher level. But there's a certain part of the neshama that comes from an even higher than Tayu reality.
And we're talking one and the same godly soul.
Yeah. But the matter is as follows. Where is Tayu, chaos higher than order in this chain-like evolution of the worlds? So this was before this. And that broke and that shattered the whole thing. Because they're both considered worlds. We call this the world of chaos, the world of tikkun. That means they're in this realm of worlds, which is the order of evolution. So this comes higher than that. They're both part of this created reality called the worlds, and therefore this came before this, it's higher and so on. But when we go beyond this order of this evolution, God in His essence, so over there, everything is equal, but more than that. Over there, the world of Tikkun is even higher than the world of Tayu. When you get at that level, there's no the power of folly does not have a power over the godly soul. In other words, as follows. Let's learn it in the Rebbe's words. All right? Chapter 5. The Yuvens of Bahag. This we understood by first giving an introduction on something. It says in the portion in Deuteronomy in Ha'azinu, the verse says that the nation of God, the Jewish people, is a part of Hashem. Jacob is the cord of his I'm not sure the English word for this, inheritance, whatever, for lack of a better word. In other words, God, the Jewish people are a part of Hashem, and they are held by a cord. Jacob is the cord. The neshama is a cord. Okay, he's going to explain.
Jacob?
The Jewish people are also called Jacob.
Okay, Yisroel.
Yeah. Okay. The verse over here is talking about two separate concepts. Inyan Aleph, the first is Yaakov Chevel Nachalosi. That Jacob, meaning the Jewish people, are a rope of Hashem. The Inyan Abeis, the second thing, which is even higher, that the Jewish people are a part of Hashem. Till the first thing is that the Jewish people are a rope that connects us to Hashem. The second thing is that the Jewish people are part of Hashem, even higher than a rope. Let's see what that means. And the previous Rebbe explains in his discourse, in the 4th chapter of his discourse, the meaning of Yaakov being the rope, that this is a reference, the rope is a reference to the neshama of a yid, which is the rope that connects him down here with Hashem up there. The neshama is the rope that connects us to Hashem. We are down here, Hashem is up there, so to say, and the rope connects them. Just like what's a rope? A rope connects a pail to the,
So the Jewish people is my connection to God.
No. Your neshama is the Jew's connection to God. The neshama is the rope. What's a rope? It holds two things together, right? The neshama is the cord, the rope that connects us to Hashem. Hashem, the Jew, and the neshama is the rope. Okay? Just like a rope whose top end, one end is tied above to something high, and the second side is connected to something in the other side, right? The two ends. The same way, the neshama, the soul of a yid, connects the person down here with his source up there, which is Hashem. The previous Rebbe continues to explain that the neshama, this rope, is woven together of 613 thin strands that make up one thick rope.
Interesting.
It is made up of 613 individual faculties, corresponding, of course, to the 613 mitzvahs. The reason for this is because, as our sages have said, a person is obligated to say, from me the entire world was created. In other words, the world meaning the whole concealment of everything that came. The word in Hebrew for world is olam. Olam also has a different connotation. It comes from the same word as helam. Helam means concealment. So Yid has to say, for me, the first contraction, which concealed God, and everything, all the process, the whole creation, not only the physical world, but even the spiritual world, and up to the first contraction of God, it's all for me. It's all for me individually. Why? In order that I should elevate it, perfect it, and do the work that Hashem wants me to do over here. Since man is made up of 613 parts, you have 248 limbs and organs, and another 365 sinews. Since man is made up of the number 613, the lachein kol hamadreges b'shtalshu shenivra b'shvilem mispar. That's why all the levels that were created for me are also in that same number of 613. That is why the neshama is made up of 613 thin strands that make up this thick cord.
So the neshama is everything.
The Yid is everything. We are everything. And because our bodies are made up of 613, and the whole world is created for us, so everything in the world was also made up in the same corresponding number. But this is an interesting novelty. That
so
it's
bottom
ups, right?
Right.
The Rebbe points right away to that the previous Rebbe said over here a novelty. It's usually the other way around.
Right.
We're the way we are because we reflect the higher reality.
Right.
Over here, the previous Rebbe is saying that the higher reality is the way it is because it reflects our reality. That's an interesting novelty.
Wow.
But he doesn't get into it over here. Later, by that same Fabrengen, he explained it. The previous Rebbe continues. These 613 strands of the neshama correspond to the 613 mitzvahs. In other words, the 613 strands of the neshama are the same as the 613 mitzvahs. Since mankind is made up of 613 organs and sinews, and why is he created? In order to perfect the world, to connect the world, and yeah. So therefore, How do you correct the world? Through the mitzvahs, right? So therefore, the mitzvahs are made up also from this number of 613. In other words, if I'm made up of 613, and my purpose is to perfect the world, so how am I, and that's my channel to God, so what number is going to be those channels reflecting me, the 613? So the bottom line is the mitzvahs are the 613, which those are 613 pathways to God. It's because I am made up of 613, and the whole purpose of the world is for me, for us, for mankind. So everything that is made for mankind is also in the number of 613. Now, the rope of the mitzvahs, that's which is made up of 613 thin strands, kol mitzvah protz, nime protz, every thin strand is another mitzvah. So when a person does one sin, he violates one of those mitzvahs, so he snips one thin strand. So a rope that is made up of 613 strands and they're interwoven, so you cut one. Is the rope is in jeopardy yet?
No.
It's not yet in jeopardy. Even though after the pratzeh is a gamma atzu shel pratzeh, even though with regard to that one strand, that's you snipped it, it's done, right? But the whole rope itself is still there. Aber close discussion said B'Shlema Schenken aber is yes ben crisis and Mrs. Bez na rein negen close discussion and nefesh im shorsh mekel l'mayl. But when you do those sins, which the consequence of those sins is excision, meaning you cut off, what happens? The certain sins that don't just snip one rope, they affect the whole rope. They cut into the whole connection. Therefore, even simple people and callous people and uninitiated people are afraid to do those sins. Because they rip the whole connection. They cut away the whole connection. It cuts through all the 613 strands. And then you're just left with nothing. That's why no one wants to violate those sins, because we sense that violation of those sins cuts away the whole thing. She need militia then be adusum kushuru im sherish khayusevis barabul vavolem khyemer shriz libiel. Vadrabul man sveisor of satsmei shal dezim shlitesus khayskhul. As kol zainel beseder stalsh so close in the yak khavel nachlos. Here the Rebbe says even more. He says it could be that from the perspective of the world of Tikkun, the world of order, as it's in the evolution of the worlds, right? Where chaos comes before Tikkun, it can even be possible that the folly of Toyu, of chaos, that which comes from chaos, can cover the truth of the neshama, which comes from the world of order, the lower world, even such things that can cut away at the whole connection. That's why we could see sometimes the spirit of folly could be so crazy that it could get a person to even believe that you'll eat on Yom Kippur and you're still Jewish.
You what?
And you can eat on Yom Kippur and you're still a good Jew. The folly can be so strong, even though eating on Yom Kippur cuts the connection. You can talk yourself in all kinds of things, even to that degree. Because from that, because again, Toyu is higher than Tikkun.
Chaos. Can you ever not be Jewish?
Hmm?
Can you ever not be Jewish?
No, that's not possible.
It's not possible.
That's what he's saying, and that was the question. Why can it convert completely?
So even if you're converted, you're still Jewish.
But a person that knows will not convert.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
But the simpleton
he
who
will.
converts still is a Jew.
He's going to talk about that. He will talk about that in the last part of the mind. But he says, Ach, yeshne, I think, did you see a car come in?
Probably
I
for me.
didn't see nothing.
Because I'm waiting for a group of boys also.
Let me go see.
See if it's a truck with a trailer full of dreck. For recording.
No.
There's no one there? Someone's picking you up.
Yeah. Driving to Gainesville after this.
So they're not here. I guess they're not. Okay, so let's go further one more
Well,
part.
let's wait for everyone.
No?
No, nothing for sure.
Yeshne union shalomailim is that yet there's something that is even higher than the cord of the neshama. What's higher than the neshama? If you remember in the beginning of this chapter, he said there are two things in that verse. One is that Jacob, the Jewish people, is the cord. Then he said there's also another part of that passage that says even higher that we are part of Hashem. So that's already our connection to God as that supersedes or transcends the chain-like evolution of the worlds. We go beyond that.
Thank God.
The essential connection. Because now in this verse he's talking about God's name Hashem, right? We're part of the Tetragrammaton. The name Hashem, from in its highest level, is beyond the order of the worlds. When you say that we are part of Hashem, we are part of His essence. Because when you're talking about essence, when you get a part of it, you get the whole thing. Yeah, there's no, it's not I have this part of the essence and not the other part. In every part there's the whole essence. There's every part of the essence. So every Jew, when you has the essence of Hashem in it. And since we are part of Hashem, not just a cord that connects us to Hashem, we are actually part of Hashem, so we are one with His essence. ועד כדי כך שרב המגיד מפרט בדברי המדרש כדי שמתי יוכל כמין תמלים כי קודשון וקדושו ולמעלה קדושסכם שקדושו ולמעלה קדושו וכנס קודשון שינעל לסייס ולמעלה מקדושסכם וכנס כדי שמתי. Let's do this again. ועד כדי כך שרב המגיד מפרש בדברי המדרש כדי שמתי יוכל כמין תמלים כי קודשון קדושו ולמעלה מקדושסכם שקדושו למעלה, הקל מקדושסך. The Maggid of Mezrich says something so phenomenal that when the Pasuk says, the verse in Leviticus says, tells the Jews, be holy, because I'm holy. So the Medrash says, when the Shem says, be holy, so you would think that Hashem is saying to be holy like Him. Right? No. He says, no. My holiness is beyond your holiness. Be holy, but you can think that it means to be as holy as God. No. My holiness is higher than yours. The Maggid interprets those words different. He says, Yachel Kameini, you could do it, you can be holy as my holiness. Because my holiness is because of your holiness. In other words, my holiness is dependent on your holiness. I'm holy because you're holy. The holiness in heaven is a result of the holiness of the Jew.
That's bizarre.
It's beyond belief, because the whole world was created for us. So we're the source of everything.
Huh. But it's created for us to bring Him down to us.
Yeah. So what we create here, everything we do creates heavenly emanations and heavenly Doesn't mean
so whatever happens
doesn't
down
mean
here
God's
happens
whole, that God, the essence of God is holy because we're holy. Of course not.
Okay.
It means the levels within the heaven, within the upper realms, we're causing those things to happen. When there's a unification between two worlds and we draw holiness, is we are drawing it. We're the ones that create that holiness,
Only
that
us.
reality. Yeah,
Only us.
the one down here.
So we're the only ones who have an impact on what happens there.
Yeah.
Wow.
ומזה משמע שהרב המגיד מפרט דברי המדרש יוכל כמני שאין זה בדרך של תמיל יוכל כמני מנחוס ומעבר עם משקוס כקודש אנו שקדושו ומעלה מקדושו. And this is all because וכל זה ומני שעצמן שם קשורים עצמוס לסבורת. This is because the essence of every one of our souls is bound with the essence of Hashem. So in the Chiluk Havayah, that's the meaning of the words a Jew is a part of Hashem. We're one with God. This is true by every Jew. Because the Chiluk Hashem Ame Daiket. Netzval Pirush Mir Ala Ilu, you could use it Medish Ame Ukame Imei. Yeshnik Ame Pirush Ame Moloshin Cholom Emes. Kame in Melabli Amshin Dvarim Frodem Zorim Mechegem Malzamelo. This includes every single Jew, even such Jews who are very distant from Hashem. And they're very separate, not separate, but they are like, like coals that are burning out, They're on the last, breath. It's already at the end. Even such a Yid is absolutely part of Hashem at the essence of his soul level. That even such Jews that are considered Amoy, Amoy means his nation, and Amoy can mean two things. It can mean from the same word as Imoy, which means very close to him, with him, which means that we're on a high level, but Amoy can also mean from Oimimos, that we're almost at our last breath, we're already burning out. That means we're such Jews that are on a very low level. They are also part of Hashem. So this includes everyone. והיינו, דקשם שבניין חבל נחלוסים מדייק יעקב דווקא. שסקש על דרך חבל הנשומי גם מדרגס הנמוך שם בכנס הכפיים כמשקוץ במיימר, כך גם בניין תחילק השם מדייק עמי דווקא, שאפילו אלה שם גמי דברים נפרודים, הנה, בלי הבט על מעמוד מצב מרים חילק הוויה, חילק ונעצם, שהוא אחד עם העצם כולי. That means just like in the first part of the verse, that he explained, the second part, which is where he said that the cord of Jacob, that the neshama is the cord of Jacob. Why is he referred to Jacob? You asked before, why Jacob?
Right.
Because over here it's a reference to such Jews that are on a very low level. Jacob, the word Yaakov in Hebrew has the same meaning as heel, the foot sole. Even such Jews are on the lowest level of the rung, the lowest rung, they're the foot sole. Even they have a cord that connects them to God. The same thing in the higher level. When you talk about that the Jews, that the neshama is a part of Hashem, it includes even such people that are at the level of Amoy, very distant from Him. In other words, both levels, the cord and the essence that were part of Hashem, is true not only for holy men, for tzaddikim, for righteous people, for all Jews, even the lowest. And that the part of Hashem's essence.
No matter what the non-Jew does, they can never bring heaven down to earth.
Not like a Yid. They could, but not like a Jew.
Really, they could.
Yeah,
Righteous
sure.
Gentile.
הנה מצדין דחילק השם ממש וכל החבך מסרול ולמעלה מסדר השטר של אחד המעצוס יאפשר רוחתוס נפש בם שחס עולם סחול. Now when you're talking from that perspective, that level of our connection to God, which is one with the essence, no spirit of folly can cover that. Because why should the spirit of folly be able to cover up the Jews' neshama? That's only within the realm of that evolution where tohu, chaos, comes before order. But that's in the level of the cord. But when you're talking about the connection of the essence with the essence of Hashem, that we're part of Hashem, not just a cord that connects us to Hashem, over there's no spirit of folly that can cover that. Because even tohu with all its greatness, with all the chaos, the world of chaos, with all its high level energy, doesn't come to the essence of Hashem. which is where our neshama is connected to at the highest level.